Okay. Okay, well, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining. We have a quorum. I will call this meeting to order. And wondering if we have an approval of the minutes, or if we have an amendment, please speak up. Proposed amendment, please speak up.
I thought they were pretty accurate, so usually I have something to chime in on, but not this time, so I'm good with them.
Okay. So is that a motion, an official motion to approve? Or we just approve them, right? We don't have to do all the.
That's your prerogative.
Yeah, I think if nobody has any amendments, they're just approved, right? That's what we talked about. Yeah. Okay, so approved. Okay, let's go on to, do we have any public comments this evening? Kevin.
Hi, good evening. I was reading through Kelly's staff notes, and well, first of all, I want to thank the people who are leaving. I'm not sure exactly who that is. I know obviously Dominic has done great work, and Lisa as well, but I don't know who all's leaving off the top of my head, but thank you. And then also in reading through the staff notes, one thing that really occurred to me, and that this should resonate with Dean, is that what we found the last 2 years is that the city really, and of course Kelly knows this, the city really hasn't budgeted for many of the projects we need to move forward more quickly on. And we've relied almost solely on grant money. And when we met with Brian Gattow, he said, because the city has so many priorities and so many aspirations in its various plans, he needs more community support and top cover from the council and the community before he feels he can direct city departments to make certain changes. And he said, we need to budget, accordingly, because you can't pay for everything we want to do. So there are so many great items in this staff report that it will not be fully funded by grant money, even if we get it. And they should be included on some sort of list that goes forward to the council in some way, shape, or form. And I think now we have also a very, how should I put it, a council that's much more inclined to approve these items too, and make some hard decisions of things to do instead of just repairing streets on a schedule, and wants to see the community make faster progress against climate initiatives in particular, and other sustainability projects. So please try to find a way to push that aspect, to get money budgeted in addition to the grant money that Kelly can help us get. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you.
Lower my hand.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. Okay, any other public comments? Guessing that might be all for tonight. Okay. Well, Kelly's great staff report was referenced. Let's go forward with that. What questions do people, questions, comments, feedback, anything, thoughts for Kelly? Dominic.
Oh. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Dominic, then Dick, go ahead.
Yeah, so I forgive my cold firstly. Kelly, as usual, thank you so much for the notes. You're doing a ton of awesome work. I had a general question that kind of dovetails into the comment from earlier. I do recall a conversation about potentially requesting like intern support or some other support to help chase down the myriad grants that have become available both at federal and state levels, and try to multiply your time. Can you remind me where that conversation ended, and if there's any reinforcements on the horizon for you?
Yeah, I believe the committee approved up to $3,000 for the fiscal year, so it doesn't necessarily have to be confined to the summer, for intern support. And Daphne Wu from the high school who's now at Yale. She's been at Yale for 1 year, is coming back to Middleton for the summer and expressed interest in working for us. I need to, and I told her that, you know, we're very interested in her working and she seems excited about it, but we haven't solidified that yet. I need to reach out to her again and make sure we need to get the paperwork finalized for that. Her school, I believe it might go a bit later, but I need to check with her. But one of the issues I'm running into is I'm going to be gone for almost a full month from June 15th to July 12th. So bringing someone on in June might be difficult. And so I want to talk to Daphne about her schedule to see if that would work. And then I think you're right that it would be helpful to have some grant support. I haven't quite worked out what the balance is on managing an intern when I don't have like a set project I can put them on versus, you know, like the work it takes to manage an intern and keep them busy versus just working on the projects I already have in the hopper. But I'm really hoping to get that figured out so that we can get some help in the summer and the fall even. There's lots of great candidates who, you know, go to UW that would probably love to have even a fall position, if not summer. So that's in the works. It's on my list, but I need to really get down to it.
Thank you.
You're muted, Christy.
I muted to like be polite, and then that's what happens. So I won't be polite anymore. I would think it's completely up to you, of course, Kelly. I would think Daphne would be somewhat self-sufficient, you know, and you know, you could probably she could probably handle just direction from afar too. But I wonder too, if you mentioned, you know, we could split up. We could always try and allocate more money if we wanted for, you know, and for Daphne for the summer and then, you know, some for the fall, or you could split up, you know, Daphne could do part of the summer and then also fall. Anyway, just food for thought. Go ahead, Dick.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Dominic. I think Daphne was such a powerhouse,
Yeah.
and getting her here, and I think it should be a priority before you leave in the middle of June, Kelly, to come up with a really good workload or projects that she could work on, because she is just so focused, and would be a shame to not take advantage of her. And I agree with Christy that I don't see where our money budgets would preclude us from even giving another intern for the fall.
Yeah.
I look at this list of things that you're doing and the grants. It's an amazing list. And I think if we could provide intern support for the summer and then intern support for the fall out of our budget, I think we got it covered. I know on other things that I've been involved with, we're not spending anywhere near the amount of money that we have in past years in the summer. So, and then I wanted to comment on Kevin's thing about all these things you're doing and getting cost sharing money and getting the council to approve whatever is needed to support these grants. I think it would be really important to get this into some kind of organized spreadsheet, or I'm not saying it has to be a spreadsheet, but something so that you can create a document to send to the council sooner rather than later. These are the grants and projects we're working on, and this is the kind of money that we need as cost sharing or support or whatever, so that they have it right front and center to know that they need to come up with the money in the short term rather than the long term. It's quite your staff report is impressing me more and more every month that you do it. I mean, you put a lot of effort into preparing it, and I have questions on individual things. And I guess the one that I would like some clarification on is just in words from you, where is the whole streetlight issue going and what needs to be done? So that would be my real question to you rather than all the statements that I just made.
Okay, yeah, everything on the list, I believe, is funded except the match for the Streetlight Carbon Reduction Program grant, which we do have matching funds available with our ARPA balance. But if we take money from the ARPA balance, then that would take money away from the other ARPA projects like the Energy Efficiency Navigator in 2024. But that may be a good decision. You know, that's a policy decision that council can make. But the streetlight situation right now as it is I wrote a grant for 530,000, which would have been, I wrote it as a 2-year project, just in case there was sticker shock on the 530,000. They could look at, okay, well, let's do half of it this first year, let's divide it up and do her phase 1. They wanted to spread the funding they had available in the Madison region amongst the other communities. So they pretty much split it evenly. Madison got more money because they're a much larger city and they had much bigger projects. But amongst the similarly sized suburbs, they pretty much evened it out. But in our case, because we asked for 530,000, they offered 124,000 federal share grant for 2023, but they offered that as a 24% match for the federal portion, knowing that it would be maybe a 2-year project for us. And then they told us we should apply again next year to get another chunk of money to try to finish the project. But what that means is that instead of that grant being funded 80%, 20% match by the city, we're now sort of either tasked with coming up with a 50% match, which means that we would get 124,000 this year, but we'd need to find 124,000 in the city this year's budget to match that. Or perhaps we could talk to the MPO about scaling the project back and doing it over more than 2 years. But as Sean Stowski and I were saying, Sean said, it looks like you really want to get this done in 2 years. If you want to get all of the city-owned streetlights transitioned to LED in 2 years, then we need to come up with like a 50% match with that 124,000. So what I need to do is, I think, lay out the options for council and then present that at the June 6th council meeting and let them make the decision. Like, we definitely have the $124,000 grant award to start doing this work. But what I'm unsure of is if council will go for, sure, let's do it, let's find the match, let's do it, or whether they say, let's scale the project back, do it over more years, and we'll do an 80-20% match, in which case your project will be smaller and take longer to finish.
Yeah, can I just follow up, please?
Yeah, it's confusing.
I feel like this is a big thing and it's dragged on for like a decade. And I mean, I hate to see us stretch something out, because when you stretch it out, it always seems like it's harder to get the momentum to really do something. And I'm assuming this 124,000, you say it has to be spent in 2023, right? So that means that it's got to be the 124,000 50% match has to be found in the existing city budget for this year. And it hadn't been budgeted. Is that kind of money hard to come by? I mean, what are our chances of saying, look, we want to get going on this. Let's find 124,000. It doesn't feel like a huge amount of money, but I don't know, maybe that's naive for me to say that.
It's really a very big amount of money with our very tight city budget. But we do have that money sitting in an ARPA fund. We have the full amount of ARPA dollars in our possession. And we had earmarked $150,000 for 2024 for the Energy Efficiency Navigator, although that has not been approved by council. So council could pull that back during this next budget cycle and say, we want to spend that 150,000 for stormwater management. Like it's totally, it hasn't been approved, but it is in the budget column for the Energy Efficiency Navigator. Council could decide that they want to use that 150,000 or some portion of that as the match, and they could use that money this year. Even though it's in the 2024 column for ARPA, the money is available to use right away if council made that policy decision. So we have that money. It just means that you would pull from another project. There may be other places you could find bits of it, but that's just the most obvious pot, which I don't like to, I mean, I really would love to do more energy efficiency work, but you know, it's at some point, council has to make some of these decisions.
Can you just remind me, so the ARPA money that is budgeted, what is that specifically going for? Is that these building energy audits and upgrades for low-income housing? Is that what that's money? Will that be spent this year if we don't reallocate it? If the council doesn't reallocate it?
Well, we have $300,000 already approved and budgeted for the Energy Efficiency Navigator program, which works on heat pump, electrification, solar, energy efficiency, and naturally occurring affordable housing. That is set in stone. We have that $300,000 for that. But there's an additional $150,000 that was put onto that project to fund that project. But council from the very beginning said, let's split this out so that if a disaster happens, or let's say another flood happens, we need to have this kind of slush fund of ARPA funds that we can pull from if we need it in the future. So they didn't want to allocate the full 450,000 in 2022. So they put that last 150,000 of ARPA funding in the 2024 column, but it could be spent in this fiscal year. But then we wouldn't have that money for the Energy Efficiency Navigator program moving forward next year, but it hasn't been approved for any specific use yet. It has to go through the budget process for 2024. So there is that fund available. We did receive $1.1 million from the federal government for the American Recovery Plan Act. That's what ARPA stands for. But it was given to cities very loosely. It was, you know, in a reaction to COVID and everything that COVID caused with economics of municipalities across the country. And they gave us a very wide berth for deciding how to spend that money. So there is ARPA money. Most of it is already allocated to specific projects, but there is a remaining balance there that has not been approved for specific uses.
Christy, can we continue the discussion and get other people's input on this?
Yep.
It feels like it's an important decision point.
Yeah, well, Deb, you're up next. Is yours similar? You have the floor. Go ahead, Deb, and then we can continue this.
No, it doesn't have to do with the LED light bulbs, no.
Well, go ahead. Do you want to, we can.
I just wanted an update on Bird City renewal and also on the Bird Collision Committee, if that's going to happen anytime soon.
I was thinking about the bird renewal today because I can't get to it, and it does need to happen. Usually around this time, the director of the Bird City renewal contacts us and says, okay, you really have to get this in. So I could really use some help with that, but otherwise I'll have to squeeze it in sometime in the beginning of June, I think.
Is that a potential intern project?
Maybe, although I feel like it'd probably take about as long to explain it. And
Yeah. Yeah, that's the challenge. Okay. back to, Deb, do you have more on that?
And the bird collision.
And the bird collision?
Yeah, well, I was hoping to loop in the bird collision work with the sustainable building guidelines, which is sort of the projects on deck. I would like to get the battery storage project bid and going, and the Lakeview project going. And then I don't have to be so hands-on with that stuff. It's more in the contractor's court. But up until now, I haven't really had time to launch into that, to writing those.
Okay, well, if you need help on the bird city renewal, I mean, I can help where I can help. If there's, I mean, I know it's multiple pages, but I helped the last time and I can fill those kind of blanks in.
Yeah, that would be great. I mean, we have the knowledge between you and Janet Kane and Friends of Pheasant Branch and Mark Wagner. You know, we could pull it together. So yeah, I'll send you the links to that and you can look and see, maybe just take a look at it and see what you think.
Okay.
Okay, that's good. Thank you, Deb. Good thoughts. Okay, let's go back to the, budgets discussions. What does everybody else think on those? Let's just get more money. Let's just keep pulling it in and get stuff done. Dick, what else? Oh, go ahead, Kelly.
I was gonna say, one thing I would like to do, and I really want to commit some time, I think it'd be helpful to, maybe Christy and I could go over a format for this, but I really want to spend some quality time as a committee deciding what capital asks we should make for 2024. And that's difficult. It's something that we can't wait until October to whip something up. I think, I feel like we're already a little bit late. Maybe the June meeting could be primarily a budget request meeting where we really get our ducks in a row and organize what do we want to make what's our priorities. Is it, EV infrastructure and vehicles and streetlights for 2024? And how much would we ask for? Those kinds of questions I think would be helpful to go over in a future meeting, because the streetlights are expensive. It is about $530,000 just for the city-owned streetlights. That doesn't include and that's the majority of streetlights we have, but MGE also has over 100 of their own lights that they need to deal with as well.
I'm not sure if I'm out of turn speaking. This is Dean. But as I remember in some discussions about the whole streetlight thing, one of the advantages of going forward with that is it would probably save money year after year, even though there's a big upfront cost by sustainability committee standards. It's a big ask, but it does save money over time. So you can sell it in part as paying back for itself over time. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
In the grant request, Sean Stowski helped figure some return on investment numbers, and it's some, and Slipstream also did this for us, and it looks like we could potentially save $22,000 to $30,000 in every year in our operating budget if we transitioned all of our lights to LEDs.
Mhm.
Now that, if we just get partial awards and we're actually expending, $300,000 of city budget, then that would be a longer payback. But there is a significant savings to transition streetlights. And I do think this council currently is supportive of doing that. I've heard them talk about it before and ask questions about it. So I don't think it's gonna be something that they're, surprised to hear or that they will recoil at, I think it
Mhm.
makes sense to them.
So there's carbon footprint savings and there's
Yeah,
actual money savings. So
yes.
Okay. Dominic,
Yeah, I'm pretty torn on it, especially as I'm very tempted to just say it's teed up. Let's just be done with it. Like, all due respect, I'm so sick of talking about streetlights. It seems like such low hanging fruit. So I'm very biased to just do everything we can to you know to do it. I'm a little torn though, just given that the trade-off would be to defund the Navigator program, which and I just feel like that program is serving a population that would feel benefit from that infusion of capital as well. So there's an equity concern for sure there. I feel torn that way. My intuition is that the Navigator program that will be paying more for services. So the dollar per energy savings or carbon savings is actually it's less efficient than the LED streetlights. I don't know if that's how we evaluate opportunities. Those are just some of the idea or the thoughts bouncing around in my head. I think they're both worthy of funding. And I just hope that maybe precipitated some thoughts for others because I'm still conflicted.
Dick,
Yeah, I mean, great thinking, Dominic. I just feel like that we've been talking about ARPA funds. Like we were going to be spending money in 2022, right, for ARPA, and then nothing happened, and now we're in 2023, and we're still moving along. And I just don't want us to lose those money because, we're doing 150,000 per year for 3 years, and it feels like everything got pushed back a year or so. And there's going to be other opportunities for more grants, but I'm like with Dean and Dominic on the point of, hey, I'm sick and tired of talking about streetlights, and I want to see us grab the horns on this and start doing stuff. And 124,000. Well, okay, it's a certain amount of money, but it is. We got to make our community, our city administrative carbon reduction goals by 2030. And I feel like we need to be aggressive on this and start showing people we mean business. And I guess I'm leaning towards suggesting that we use the 150 as given, you have a 50% match in the books, right, Kelly? If we converted 124,000 of that ARPA money, that of the 150, that when you've already approved 300, and we could spend that right now and get the streetlight thing going at a much greater scale than what you've got. Is that right?
Well, we could then have 250,000 this year to start on the streetlights. I mean, some of this it's not just simple to just decide you want to do something and then next month you do it within city government. There's a lot of other decisions that need to happen first, and like they've been working on deciding which streetlight they're going to replace the current streetlights at, and there's all different streetlights all throughout the city, so you have to make a decision about the streetlights on Allen Boulevard and Greenway Station, but then the streetlights in Middleton Hills are $1,000 per light to replace because they're very expensive lights. Same way with the North Lake neighborhood, they have very expensive neighborhood streetlights. And there's all these different lights in different parts of the city. They're different costs. They have different gear and equipment. So there's lots of decisions to make, like before you actually put in the order. And we did manage to figure most of that out for this grant, which I feel really happy about it. That was a heavy lift, just figuring that out. So we're ready to go now. And I do think over the next couple of years, we can get more money next year from the same carbon reduction program from the MPO. I believe we'll probably have funding next year for this as well. I can't say, there's no way to say whether we could get more or whether we think it'd be less or whether the match would be more. It depends who applies for what. So like all that stuff, it's all on the table. And we can prepare options for council.
Well, it almost feels, Christie, like we either make a motion to do something or we just close the discussion.
Yeah, that's a good thought. I will just say personally, so I had, I like your comment, Dominic, about the services and that a lot of this, money for the low income housing retrofits might be, I know Kelly, you love that project and I really like it too. So that's one of my reasons for not moving away from that. But I will say today I had heat pump people over all day. And actually I had an EV guy, an electrician over to wire the house for the EV too. So in terms of using this money, even for the retrofits, the Navigator program, it could be a year before we even get these service providers to do the work. I have been hounding this guy. I had him over in November for the furnace and heat pump. And I have been persistently following up with him with a passion. And I finally got them there today and they're coming tomorrow. And I know the electrician too was a wait. But I managed to get him today too. So I don't know, that's just a consideration. Yeah. Well, do you, any other thoughts or do you want to make a motion, Dick?
Well, I really would like to get more committee members to decide, do we want to take away from the 450 that we're originally going to spend on this energy efficiency stuff, which I thought we were going to spend 150,000 by the end of last year, and then things dragged on. And now we're talking about getting going finally. And then we for 150 this year, and then is it to spend 150 this year, then 150 next year, Kelly? So is that how it's going to be? The 300,000 that's committed, that's how it's going to be divvied up?
The 300,000 will be expended before December 31st, 2023.
Okay, so
It takes, I can't stress enough with when you're working with populations that are hard to reach behind a building owner.
Yeah.
And you need community partners, like laying the groundwork and the community networks and relationships that you have to build to do that and to reach the people is really challenging, but I think it'll pay off dividends for decades, having those community relationships. So yeah. I know that there's carbon reduction, there's ROI, but I also see sustainability as making a resilient community that can be ready to go when we roll out whole neighborhood decarbonization programs, and when we have more federal funding, and also just we have the will and the networks formed to do this, to scale this work up. So I think we need to do all the things. Like, it's not that I'm trying to say one more than another, but I do see this as important as well. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't go ahead and spend the 150,000 on the streetlights, but okay, I don't want to minimize, like, it wasn't that it was so late or we were doing work last year, but it takes a long time to work it out with the community partners, how you're going to do it. And then to reach the building owners has been really challenging as well, but we're learning a lot. It's a lot of.
Okay, so I am not going to make a motion. I think I'm leaning towards keeping the 150,000 into this community energy upgrade program, and then we'll go for the 80-20 money And it seems like there ought to be, this will be a shovel-ready project. I mean, the streetlight thing, if we can get any kind of other grants coming on from the Biden administration, it would be ready to go. And I guess I don't want to take this ARPA money that would be harder to get for this community stuff. So I'm not going to make a motion to change the 150,000 into the, and I would not support that motion either.
Okay, I have to open my door, but Dominic, then Deb.
I was just looking for guidance, Kelly, on our authority. I don't know that we, as the Sustainability Committee, can make a decision on how to spend money. I think that's a different committee, if I'm correct, but we could make a recommendation. Can you help me understand what we would even have the latitude to do here if a motion were to be made?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's a recommendation, right?
Yeah, the committee can only recommend, and then, council can at any point override any recommendations this committee makes. And you can always recommend too that you want both funded. I mean, it's not that there may be other pots of money, or, you may draw some from this, some from over here, some from over here. So there may be other options. I haven't fully explored that with the finance director. I think that it just seemed like that was a very easy potential option with the 2024 money. And that might ultimately be the best decision. Another option is to go ahead and use the ARPA money for the shovel-ready project. We have the funding, we have the lights laid out, we know what we want, we could do it. And then we could always ask for budget for a continuation of the Navigator program, yearly, maybe at a lesser budget amount. That's what Madison did. Madison had done a few pilots with the Energy Efficiency Navigator, and now they're just doing it as part of their budget every year and allocating a certain amount to the program every year, and just slowly they're going to work their way through natural occurring affordable housing, energy efficiency. So, but those are all policy decisions that the council would make. And it'd be great to have input from the committee too, as well. I don't know the answer. I don't have, super strong opinion one way or the other. That's for you guys to recommend and for council to decide.
Deb.
Sorry,
Oh, I'm sorry, Dominic, do you still have more?
I just wanted to follow up very briefly on Kelly, real quick, just instinct, your intuition. What's more likely to get axed if we were to pull all the money out of the navigators? Is there a chance that disappears and never comes back? Or if we were to just say we can't do what we want to do with the street lights, what's the chance that we never get around to the street lights?
Well, I feel like the streetlights are pretty, I don't know for sure. You never know. And I haven't seen this council vote on a lot of things. They're very new. I feel like that the streetlights make sense. I feel like fiscally, and then we've got this grant. It seems like we know what we can see what we would get for it. I feel like it's sort of a no-brainer to do this project, and maybe an easier ask. But as far as the funding, I think for the Energy Efficiency Navigator, that's difficult for anyone, residents, committee members, or council, to wrap their brain around, like, what are the benefits we're seeing from this beyond learning and, making some inroads in relationships, which I think is very important, but it's hard to quantify and make an easy case for. But at the same time, I think it's important. But, it's like you have to prioritize, you have to make hard decisions. We've put 300,000 into the Energy Efficiency Navigator. We'll gain a lot of insights and learning from that. And, maybe it's something we could revisit in the future. So I've struggled with this as well. I don't know, but maybe the decision isn't solely between axing that and gaining this. It may be there's other options.
Deb.
So a couple of questions. Being that this money was from 2022 and it's 2023, is there some kind of deadline to spend the money? Like this 150, could you spend it? So you could spend 450,000 this year on the Navigator program? Or are you all just going to spend the 300,000 and that's not going to be spent this year?
We could expend the whole ARPA amount right away. It was good. It was allocated kind of in a lump sum in 2022, and we have until the end of 2024 to spend the entire ARPA fund. So you can do that in any way you want. Some other ARPA dollars have also not been spent, like the solar money for the utility wells, that's ARPA funded as well. So we could, you could conceivably take money from that and put it into the streetlights, but I really don't want to do that because I think the solar will be beneficial and we can get that done before the end of 2024.
Okay.
But there is a time frame for expending it, but it could be expended all at once.
You do have another year, so
Mhm.
so there isn't like you have to spend it this year. So then if you can get the 124,000 match, seems to me if there are streetlights that are cheaper to replace than Middleton Hills, then maybe the first priority would be get the most bang for your buck.
Yeah.
In other words, get all of those streetlights that are less expensive replaced with half the money that you're getting, and then the other half would cover the more expensive ones. Just a thought.
That seems sensible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that is how it's kind of set up now. The first phase was the cheaper lights, and then the second phase were the more expensive lights because we were still, at the time of the grant writing, still a tiny bit unsure about which exact fixture we would be buying. So that's how it's set up.
Okay, Dick?
Yeah, I mean, we passed last month a resolution, right? Recommending that streetlights be all converted to LEDs. And what is the council? I mean, that should put, I mean, the council wanted this, right? I mean, Lisa was certainly promoting it. So we shouldn't have any trouble to get the council to find money to convert the streetlight package. But I like the idea, if we're ready to go on something, we should do it rather than, because we keep waiting on stuff and it's stuff drags out. New money comes available, our priorities change, and the streetlight feels like we've been talking about it since I've been on the committee, and that's 5.5 years or whatever, 5 years, I guess. And it was talked about many years before that. But I'd like to see if the council has got this resolution that we recommended that they wanted, maybe they have enough incentive, so we don't want to take the money away from something else that we know would be harder to fund. So I'm really having trouble deciding on this. And I feel like the city knows they can do the streetlights. Maybe they'll find the money some other way.
Yeah. Freya, do you have any thoughts? Just because you're in high school doesn't mean you don't have good ideas.
Hi, of course. So, would you, I'm so sorry, my grandpa was talking to me. Would you mind just repeating the last sentence?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I mean, we're
I'm so
just,
sorry.
yeah, no problem. We're just talking about in general, this conversation has been going on a while, what do you think about this discussion? What comes to mind? About the discussion between streetlights and the, doing the LED streetlights versus the some of the affordable housing things, or just in general, what's the best priority for, some, hundreds of thousands of dollars?
Yeah, so I also I agree with like the LED things. Also, the green team has a committee that's also kind of focusing on this. They were talking specifically to like LED changes, and they were making kind of flyers around the community to kind of promote LED usage. I think for streetlights, that would be also a good priority to use, especially because a lot of the streets, like in that kind of sense, a lot of the streets are like dark, and when we put in new streetlights, we could be more efficient with our usage of lighting through LED lights. Yeah.
Okay. Kelly, most of the street, thank you, Shreya. Kelly, with most of the streetlights, they would just replace the light, or would they replace the fixtures or change some of the fixtures so that the streetlights, I have a streetlight out here, but I don't know how the streetlights are. Will the LEDs in the new streetlights point down to minimize, back to the bird items? Will it minimize bird and migratory bird disruption? You know, will any of that be improved? I don't know if it needs to be improved, but I would assume there could be some improvements.
Yes, it will. The city's rewriting its lighting ordinance right now. I just reviewed it today. And it needs to go through council and all the committees because it's part of the
Okay.
zoning code.
Yeah.
But we can have our orders of streetlights comply with the draft language in the new lighting ordinance that
Yeah.
follows dark sky
Okay,
specifications.
that'd be good. Okay. Okay. So it's up to the committee what we want to do. Dick, do you want to just leave this, leave it kind of as is floating here?
Yeah, well, I said I'm not gonna make a motion that we convert the 450, the 150 that we've recommended be still spent on the energy navigator. I feel like it's probably gonna be harder and the fact that Kelly has worked so hard to get the connections to these groups, and as long as it feels like that there's gonna be a place to spend the money. I don't want to see us sit on the money and then not spend it, then have it disappear in some way that doesn't benefit some of our committee priorities. So that's my only concern. But
Okay.
if Kelly feels like that she's made connections with enough living units and that there's going to be a way to spend the money by the end of 2024, then I'm okay with that. And let's let the streetlight thing fester underneath as a boil inside the new committee. I mean, new council, because they know this is a priority. Maybe they'll come up with the money themselves out of some
Yeah.
other pot.
Yeah, I do feel like it would take away a little bit of trust with Middleton if we pulled the affordable housing pilot right now with the other community members and the reputation of Middleton sustainability. I would worry about that if we were going to pull back on it now. Okay. What other comments, any other comments, thoughts, feedback on other items within this? Anything else you think you need to highlight, Kelly? It all looks great.
Well, I would just like to take a moment to highlight number 15, which is really about the outgoing committee, and thank Dominic and Kelsey and Lisa Hanairo, who I don't believe is on this call tonight,
Right.
particularly for your service on the committee. It's been I know government sometimes can seem slow and plodding, but it's been a really productive couple of years on this committee. There's been a lot of plans written and resolutions and forward momentum and pressure on the council, and help from citizens as well who've shown up, like Rick and Dean and Tony and Bob and Kevin. So I really just want to thank everyone so much. My work, I play a certain role, but the committee plays a massive role in the city. And it's been really great working with all of you.
Thank you, Kelsey and Dominic.
Yay.
Yes, thank you both.
Yeah, okay. Well, we could keep tonight's meeting, relatively short, which is nice because sometimes we have some long ones. Should we go to the next agenda items? Shreya, do you have any school green team updates?
Yes, so well, not as much for the school. We had our last meeting last week. I think the school green team since last month hasn't done much because of AP exams and students being busy. So in that kind of standpoint, we're at the same. And then for the composter, I believe Ms. Pulvermacher recommended that I reach out to the superintendent regarding another group at Northside, also pursuing composter. So I did reach out to her pretty recently because I was also busy with AP exams. So I don't think she's gotten a chance to look at my email yet. But I'm just waiting for her because we have a bunch of letters of support for the composter from parents of students. And I'm just waiting for her recommendations on how to go forward. And then I would also love a letter from the committee as well, as soon as we get her recommendations on how to proceed. That's all I have. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you. Dick.
Yeah. We saw that grant application. I think it was Kelly that sent it around, and then I know I responded, and it was only like, I don't know, 3,000, 3,500. I forget what the exact amount, but it was from Dane County. And they were looking for food waste reduction kind of opportunities to prevent the stuff going to the Dane County landfill. And you had indicated, Shreya, that you were glad that some of us were interested in helping you on that. So at what point should we try to get this grant application going? I'm assuming the green team is still supportive of this.
Yeah. So
Go ahead.
sorry. Go ahead. No. Okay. I completely apologize. I have been a little busy with AP exams. I was actually reading over it today because I've had a free day today. And I was looking over the grant application. I don't know if the green team would specifically be of large help applying, because I don't know if, or because we've like dispersed the oh, sorry. I'm hearing feedback. Okay. We've dispersed the kind of the club at school until the next school year. So I'm not sure how much they would be of help, but I can get started on the application with some of your help, and I can also send out an email to see if anybody would be interested, but I don't think we'd get much interest from the green team as of this school year.
Okay, well, I'm wondering, this is something maybe you, Deb, and I and Christy we could talk to the superintendent, because when the superintendent accepted the sustainability award, she was I think we had an offline conversation saying, yeah, she's supportive of this whole idea of a composter for the high school. So it feels like that, maybe it is the school district that should apply for it, and maybe we could just help them get going on it. It's not a huge grant, but on the other hand, when you get a grant to do something, it does kind of get everybody realizing, well, we need to follow through on things. So what do you think about it, Deb?
Yeah, I think the school district itself applying would be a good idea. I think someone like me would have to like kind of help them write it out, because I don't know who would want to take that much of initiative. But the four of us can kind of work together and start working on the application. And then as soon as I get a response from the superintendent, then we can see if they would be interested in doing something like that.
I do think I think I read it somewhere in the grant that until the monies are exhausted that the county had set aside, the grants are eligible up to October or something. But I would hate to wait until you get organized to a new green team in the fall and then depend on your green team to write the grant. I feel like somehow we're going to have to help move this along. Maybe a conversation, Christy, with the superintendent about, hey, if you're serious about, hopefully you're serious about a composter, and here's a small grant, why not write it,
Yeah, she seemed serious when I talked to her at that meeting. So Shreya, if you don't get a response, I would follow up yourself, just with a nice, friendly, hi, just, superintendent, just checking in on this, and if you don't get a response, we can help you with that too.
Sure. Yes. I sent it super recently, so I'm just waiting for a little bit.
Okay.
I'll wait till the end of the week and then see if I get a response. If I don't, I can just go ahead and I have some free time now that all like my tests are over, so I can just get started on writing in. We can just we can just work out something together. That would be great. Yeah.
Okay,
Maybe a separate offline meeting.
okay. Deb, do you have any thoughts on that too?
Unmute. Okay, unmute. I'm thinking that Dick's thought that the school district should probably apply for the grant, especially now that Green Team is disbanded. And I think by the time they get organized, the grant deadline for application would have, gone by the wayside. So yes, there must be somebody that writes grants in the school district, I would think. So I think that's a good area to pursue.
Yeah, I can also start researching and maybe trying to figure out who that would be and reach out to them as well. And I can copy you guys both or all of you on the email as well.
Yeah, I would say, Christy, this is something that our committee ought to be staying on top of for the next month or two to make
Yeah.
sure that somehow the school district is writing this grant, and if they need help writing it, it's a way to hold their feet to the fire. If they said that they're going to do a composter, when you write a grant that says you're going to do something, then it kind of more or less commits them. So I think if Shreya representing the newer Green Team and the old one, of course, and those of us that care about this thing, keep this thing in front and center, then it can be written, and then if the thing doesn't happen, it's not like they have to spend the money, but it's just another good thing to do.
Kelly?
I actually talked to Sujata today from the county, and she's the one who I think runs or is partly in charge of that grant for food waste at Dane County. And she asked specifically, she said, come on, Middleton. She's like, I want to see a grant application from you guys for something with food waste. She was like, do you have anything? And I said, well, just wait, like to be decided. But we talked about something else, which I won't bring up now, but anyway, like I think Middleton has a good relationship with the county, and I know Sujata. So if you'd like me to, I can organize a meeting, Shreya, with you and me and maybe Deb and Dick over the next month at some point before I go, and we could maybe outline a potential grant. I want to get your input for what you think, but I can provide ideas if you want, and I could help with the grant. I don't think it's a huge grant. Like I don't think it would take a ton of time. It's probably like a 1 to 3 pager, which I could definitely help out with.
That would be great. Yeah, I think it's better. I'm like I have more time, so I think it's better to get it done sooner than later. Just so we don't keep them waiting as well.
But do you want to take Kelly up on her offer? Shreya,
Yes,
that-
of course,
a
of
meeting?
course.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
would be great,
I'll
yeah.
send you an email offline, or I'll send that out to the people interested.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, perfect. All right, any other updates from the school Green Team? Shreya?
Not from the school at all. I think they're out till next September. Yeah.
Well, that's an
They just
update.
had-
Okay,
Okay,
Yeah.
well, I have one more thing about the Green Team.
Yep.
They have been a part of our Good Neighbor Fest parade, which is on the agenda, but since it's a Green Team issue, we're hoping that the Green Team there'll be members of either the past one or new one that would like to be part of our Good Neighbor Festival parade. So Shreya, are there any people on the Green Team that you know of that are carrying over to the next year that would like to be part of that parade?
Yeah, so I saw contacts with the previous 2 presidents, and I contacted them today asking who the new board was. And I haven't gotten a response from them yet, but as soon as they tell me that, I think I'm gonna ask them to send out an email right away, just to give everyone on the team a heads up for August when the Good Neighbor Festival is, and just tell them to keep a heads up for the dates so they can come volunteer and just walk the parade with us.
Yeah, I mean, it's the last weekend in August, so I think we got the dates figured out.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of getting those kids that are going to be on the team in the fall who want to be in the parade. And the only thing, it's a Good Neighbor Festival discussion, Christy, so we will cover it now and do it later. I think we're going to want to make up maybe some new posters, but everything else would be pretty much as we have it. And we'll want to order T-shirts for anybody new that will be in the parade. So there's some things that have to be decided by early July, I'm thinking. Just so we know who's going to be there, but letting them know that we would like your support, as part of the parade, be nice.
Yep.
Yes, of course, yeah. I think, are we thinking the same 7 or 8 volunteers, or would we like more? For this? Yeah, are we thinking
Say that again, Shreya.
are we thinking the same, like 7 to 8 volunteers as last year, or are we thinking more?
You're kind of muffled, Shreya. The sound.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know what's happening. Okay, are we thinking the same 7 to 8 volunteers as last year, or do we want more than that for this year? Just so I get a heads up when I talk to the board next week.
We're not handing out bags, so we're not going to need a plethora of kids running to the sides. I think we just need the energy of people wanting to do signs and posters and carry banners and all that. So if you can
Okay,
find,
yeah, I can
I think 7 or 8 volunteers would be wonderful. But we don't need more than that,
Sure.
I don't think.
Great, yes, I think I can make that happen.
Okay.
And we're also going to get T-shirts, I think, for the new members on the committee.
Okay.
Oh, right. Okay. Do we want to cover Fleet quick before we dive into Good Neighbor Fest?
I think we did Good Neighbor Fest.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, all right. Well, the Good Neighbor Fest, the only thing, and actually it ties into Fleet. So, I mean, not a little teeny bit is that, so we're thinking last year I got the EV car. If people have an idea of an EV car that you want to put in the parade, we're all ears. I got word that the EV car that I've been trying to get since also last November should be in within a couple of weeks. So, and it's unique. I texted somebody I know about it, and it will actually have a heat pump in it, which is, I guess they're hard to get in EVs. So not only is it an EV, but it has a heat pump. So it could be kind of fun, although it's not an American made. So that would be the only downfall to that, definitely. So I was going to email Jeep, their marketing department, to see if they have one of the new Jeep all EVs, although they don't even come out until later this year. So, if anybody has any EVs that you want to think about for the parade, speak up as it comes. So that's it. Dominic, do you want to talk about Fleet?
Sure. Just a brief update. There's still a little bit of momentum being carried on the biodiesel pilot program. Brad Hopwood has pulled together a list of his top 5 assets that he would like to see participate in that pilot program, and shared all that information with Optimus, who is the OEM of these biodiesel conversion kits. So with that, Optimus should be able to make sure that they've got the appropriate hardware and plan for that pilot program. The ultimate goal, I guess not ultimate, the ultimate goal is to actually execute the pilot, but this is going to be a capital intensive project. And we're hoping that we can pull together a budget ask for the 2024 budget. So I'd like to pull that together, both an OpEx and a CapEx impact assessment for Kelly and for Brad and Sean as well. Kelly, am I missing anything?
Not that I know of. I talked to Jesse a little bit about it today, and he was mentioning that Brad was working on that. So that's good. I'm glad it's still moving forward. And so I'll try to re-engage with that as well, with the pilot project.
Great, thank you.
That's great news, Dominic. Thank you. Yeah, okay. I can give the sustainable.
Wait a minute, I didn't feel like we did the entire Good Neighbor Festival issue.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
for
so I want to make sure that every committee member knows about it, and that we would love to have all committee members who can and are willing to be a part of the parade. I think we've decided that the parade is a great way to show our the importance of sustainability and energy reduction and all that. So as Deb mentioned, we do need to know, well, we want to give t-shirts to all new committee members, and we would probably order them in early July. Deb, I think we've got the right t-shirt format and the right logo now figured out. So that hopefully would be pretty straightforward. And I would like to suggest that we do have a kind of a work gathering or party to make posters. Now we have some. I felt that we could do more on that. So the only thing that I would like to see us do that's new, that would take a little work, is everybody that's going to be in the parade either use one of our posters that they like, or make a new poster, which we would have kind of a work party maybe at Lakeview or something, so that we each have a poster that we want to carry that says a message that we want to make. So finding out who will walk of our committee is important, and then Shreya coming up with a number of students that would help carry some of the banners, as well as also make and carry posters. So we have a really good group out there on the street running around. And of course, Kelly with her bike, and Kermit likes to ride his bike. So will be a good presence in the parade. So that, I guess that's about it, but we will have to meet sometime earlier in the summer and make sure we have the full list of t-shirts to order for everybody, and then get a commitment of who will be around that weekend and is willing to be a part of the parade.
Well, I'll comment too that Kelly actually saw my bike because I rode it to a meeting, but I have one of the new Trek e-bikes, because I didn't think I was getting my new car for a long time, and we don't have enough transportation here. So anyway, it's a new really light e-bike. So if someone like Shreya, if one of the green team or somebody wants to ride it in the parade, I can definitely have that available too. Pretty fun.
Yeah, I think the car issue is an important one. We do have the static cling signs from the last parade that should be very usable again.
Yep.
And if you've got a contact, Christy, on somebody that has an EV car, you seem to know these people. So,
Well, I will have an EV car.
oh, it'll be your car, okay?
In 2 weeks, I should have one in my garage.
Yeah. Well, then you
but-
would be perfect to be driving that in the parade. So please put the parade on your to-do list this summer, as opposed to having something else that was a conflict. But yeah.
But I did mention though that it is not an American one, it's German. So, German's a US ally, but still, that's why I was mentioning the Jeep.
Well,
Excuse me, this is Dean. I was just going to ask if anybody knows when the city is going to take possession of their first EV.
Oh,
They apparently were planning to get a e-Mustang.
the city of Middleton is
Yeah.
going to have an e-Mustang. Well, yeah, if the city's got a car, that would be wonderful to have.
That would be,
That's just something, Christy, maybe you could kind of be on top of what cars are available, and Kelly too, so
Yeah.
that we make sure we have an EV. We have the static clean sign for it. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But we definitely
I
need
just
the
want to throw
car.
out there, if anything doesn't work out, my dad has an EV, so
Yeah.
that could also be a possibility.
Okay, Shreya.
what kind of EV does he have?
He has a Tesla, but
Nice. Nice. Okay, Kelly, will the city have any EVs before the parade?
Oh, they've put their order in a long time ago and they're just waiting. It's
Yeah.
hard to get the production date set for a lot of
Yes.
these EVs right now. It's hurry up and wait.
Yes, yes, okay.
Okay, that's all on Good Neighbor Fest. Let's
Okay.
you have something else.
Okay. All right, thank you. Sustainable purchasing plan. So Kelly, correct me if I say anything wrong on this, but it was approved. The plan, the sustainable purchasing plan was approved by council. And now what comes next is the implementation plan. Because it's one thing to have a plan, but then you have to have execution. So implementation, execution, that's what that is. So Laura and Kelly has been CC'd and things, but Lisa Hanaro, Laura, and I have been working on the implementation plan, and it is now back in my court, where I am going to cut it down. It's 16 pages right now, 15 to 16. I want to cut it down significantly, so it is more accessible to a wider variety of audiences, and shorter means more people are actually going to read it thoroughly. So that's on my plate. We hope to get that within our little group finalized, I'll just say very soon, and then it will go to Kelly, and then Kelly can look at it, and it will go for around internally at the city for input from specific departments, which is great. And it's something that was really important to me, Laura, and Kelly as well, is, we definitely want the people who are going to be using this plan to have a chance to give input, because that is where we're going to get really good buy-in, and constructive feedback. So we're really looking forward to that. So that's the update with that. Next one, LED bulb initiatives. Anything? Nothing? Okay. Middleton Recycling Center updates.
Well, wait a minute,
Oh.
on the LED bulb, I mean, Deb wrote, I was heading out of town and I asked Deb, because she was out of town and then came back. I said, can you write a paragraph? Because that was at the last meeting. Kelly wanted a paragraph or two from us describing what the LED bulb initiative would be that would piggyback on the energy evaluator. So Kelly, do you want to give us just some update quickly on where this is going?
Yeah, Deb wrote the paragraph and it's great, and I will use it in the next couple weeks when I talk to Elevate as they organize meetings with the building owners to go over the contracting work in their buildings.
I mean, basically what we're saying is we've got LED bulbs that if they're willing to talk with the renters, that or the owners of maybe in the hallways, that we have LED bulbs that could be used and handed out to the renters. Deb, you have anything more you want to add on that?
No, just we're hoping the managers would do an internal inventory, and then they would change out the bulbs. We would not.
Yeah.
We'll give them the bulbs, but we're not going to be going into people's apartments and stuff. So.
Yeah, that would have to get an inventory of what the needs are, either from the people doing the interviews or the assessments of the buildings, or the managers, and give us an inventory and we'll fill the inventory up.
Yeah.
And
If I could just interrupt really quick. I don't know if this completely kind of connects with the initiative, but I just wanted to know are we doing the LED bulbs at the what do we call it? Are we doing the solar I'm blanking on the name. Yes, Celebration. Correct. Sorry. Yes. Are we doing that again this year?
I don't think
By
we
chance?
are.
We aren't.
No, too big of an event. I mean, it was
Okay.
it was a good event, but it was really time intensive.
It was the intense. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Weren't we going to skip a year and do every other year?
Yeah, that's true. Yes. I mean, it's technically on the agenda for next summer, not this one. Yeah, good point, Deb. Okay, I think that's it for that, right? So now we'll go to Middleton Recycling Center updates.
No updates.
Okay.
Nope.
Okay. Other updates for any other work plan initiatives. Look at us. Look at how well we are doing on time tonight. I don't hear anything. Okay, standing agenda item. Dick, you have one.
Well, I think it was in the minutes that Kelly wrote up from the last meeting. And I had mentioned that Brian, and now I forgot his last name, but he's the new president of the local Kiwanis Club. My wife Kathy is on that, and I had talked with him at the Kiwanis pancake breakfast, and he said his company was the first one in the Middleton industrial park, and that he's expanded quite a bit. And he has tried to get MG&E to help him, to set up solar on his rooftops, and he'd really like to do it, but that the rate structure program just really prohibits him. And because MG&E assesses it on a quarterly basis, not on an annual basis. So he's a producer of electricity at certain quarters and a consumer in others. So that prevents him from getting a favorable rate structure on the help on the solar panels. And then Dominic, I think at the end of the meeting, also made a point in the chat about the microgrid issues. And so what I was trying to do at the last meeting is get us to put on the agenda for this meeting. I'm quite frankly, it's okay. It doesn't have to be done right away, but it would be nice to have a real deep dive into what are the impediments that are perceived and real for commercial and business enterprises for putting solar on, because they have so much open rooftop area. And I just feel like this is an important thing to meet our community energy goals, is to get the businesses to really be working on this. So, and it seemed like from Brian that he's had many conversations over the last 4 years or attempts with MG&E, and it's just, he hasn't been able to get it done. And it seems like MG&E is another key player in this, that somehow we've got to get them on board. And so I was suggesting that this topic be given quite a bit of time at a future meeting, and even inviting Brian to come and talk about his situation and maybe some of the impediments that he has perceived and felt, and get back into the microgrid. I know we talked a little bit about it, I think last year, but so anyway, that was an agenda item I'd like to see us move on.
Kelly?
I just wanted some more clarity on what would you like me to put on the agenda, or what action do you want me to take on this? Do you want me to invite specific people? Because I can't really bring much to the table on like MGE rate and tariffs for businesses. So I want to know, like, what do you want me to do?
Well, I'm not the best person to ferret out all the challenges on this, but it would be nice to understand, maybe even just having Brian come and give us some kind of conversation about what he's experienced and what the impediments are that has prevented him, who is willing to do it but has been not able to do it because of what he described to me as an unfavorable rate structure, because MG&E views businesses on a quarterly basis as opposed to annual. And I can't articulate more than that. So Dominic, before you leave the committee, do you have any input on like the microgrid issue? How would you, if you were wanting to shape this agenda topic, what do you think should we be discussing?
I guess my opinion is that it's a very big conversation about commercial incentives, or incentives for business owners and commercial property owners to install solar and energy storage. That's kind of the general theme, right? And certainly MG&E has one strong voice in that conversation. Potentially the city of Middleton has a seat at that table. That's a very big conversation, though. I think the city of Middleton would largely be a coordinator of that conversation. Kelly, you can maybe remind us what the scope of the microgrid feasibility analysis was, which I think was largely just us kind of saying, hey, this is what is possible. And then we've got to figure out how this can have value for people. Yeah, that's a big conversation though.
How about Dane County? Is Kathy Coons, does she have any initiatives on this stuff that would be useful to have her part of the conversation too?
Yeah, I think she might have some good ideas on useful next steps or who to contact to start a conversation about it. I know that she is absolutely swamped until we get this $15 million grant out for the carbon fueling and charging federal grant. It's due mid-June. So until then, I know she won't be available. But yeah, I mean, I can reach out to her and ask if she has any ideas, like who should be at a few initial meetings.
Well, maybe we don't have to do it for June, Christie, but it feels like it's a topic that, like Dominic's saying, it's a big topic, and it feels like we ought to be trying to wrap our head around this issue and making some headway on it.
You think,
I know-
what do you think about a next step is getting Kathy Coons's input on it and see what she thinks? Because if we bought, I completely agree with you on this topic. I would like to see movement. However, if we have him here, or, you know, to the committee, it could potentially be this can of worms of really making everyone better understand the problem. But do we have the solutions here right now, you know, with our group? I kind of don't know. I'm looking forward to, it might actually be something for, you know, we have some 350 members coming on the committee that they, I think, have some pretty big power for these types of things. Maybe it's worth a side conversation with them first, potentially.
I'm sorry, just
Go
another
for it.
thought is that the Middleton Chamber of Commerce could be a stakeholder as well. I know we've got a growing relationship between our committee and them with the Sustainability Award. So that's maybe some FaceTime that we could leverage for the ear of their members, some of whom may own commercial properties. It does sound to me like we're very much in brainstorming space. We know from our perspective what we would like the community to do, which is install more solar, install more electrical storage. But we don't really have, there are so many stakeholders that we don't have a full picture of the landscape, right? So if we could get representatives from MG&E, from the city, from the committee, from the business community, maybe this is just like a big round table. Maybe this is even just a written interview or Q&A type of thing. We're very much in information gathering mode, I think, rather than, you know, kind of proposal generating mode. Just a few thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, you know, I missed the last meeting, 2 meetings ago, you know, we had a talk about not taking on too many other big projects because we have the sustainable building guidelines and other things to, you know, you see Kelly's list, so to really hammer out. And so I would want to just be careful, just a note that we don't want to sacrifice anything else that we're already working on. Even though it is important, you know, it's the tough thing, Dick, always, because it's all important. So, okay. Well, do you like that idea, Dick, to keep it off of next
Yeah,
as of now?
yeah, I'd like to see us, even as new members come on. And by the way, do we happen to know who the new council person is that's taking over Lisa's position? And
Oh yeah, who is it, Kelly?
That will be John Schaefer
Okay,
from Kathy Olson's old district.
okay.
Okay. Well, I don't want to see us forget this, and I'm
Yep.
not saying it needs to
Yep.
be a June issue, but
Okay.
I'd like us to be thinking about, it's back to our community energy goals thing. And if having this conversation with Brian, that if the business community, he's so receptive to wanting to do it, but he couldn't make it work through multiple meetings with MG&E, then we need to find out what
Yep.
needs to happen. And I just feel like it would be nice, as Dominic's saying, I'm not looking to pass any resolutions or anything. I'd like to have more of a fact finding. What are the impediments?
Yeah.
That that we can ferret out and figure out how to move forward.
Yeah.
And getting people that care about this issue be a part of it. And the 350 people coming on, obviously, are going to have a lot of ideas on that.
Yeah, and I think Kelly's suggestion about Kathy Coons is a really good one too, to see if she has any feedback on this as a start.
So maybe we could have some offline conversations, like Kelly, you could contact Kathy and see how she recommends that we move ahead. You're not going to be here for the June meeting anyway, right? Because you're going to be gone.
Well, I'm hoping that we might reschedule it to June 12th. I believe that's the second Monday. In that case, I wouldn't miss any meetings this summer if we could have it.
Does that
Okay.
tentatively work for the people who are on this call, June 12th? Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. It is 8 o'clock sharp, and look at us. We are through our agenda. First time for everything. So I think we could have a motion to adjourn if people like that.
I make a motion to say hurrah to Dominic and Kelsey for being on the committee the last 2 years, and please pass it on to Lisa. So thank you again from all members for your time and help. And I make a motion to adjourn unless anybody wants to further the hurrahs.
I will further the hoorah, but I'll let somebody else make the secondary motion. Thank
I'll
you.
And whatever you said, thank you to all of the people that are now leaving, Kelsey and Dominic and Lisa, and also it's 8 o'clock, so I second the motion to adjourn.
Love it. Okay. All right. Well, on that note, do we have a vote to adjourn? Aye.
Yes. Yeah.
Dominic, you're
Aye.
not saying yes.
Aye.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Unanimous motion. Meeting ended. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a great night.
Okay. Good night.